broadcast.
Don't forget to record.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Welcoming in, folks. We're just going to kind of get our stuff up and running here and get folks another minute to join in. I got to get this YouTube thing going here real quick. All right. And just get started here in another minute or so. All right, get my screen up and running here. There we go. All right, welcome everyone to episode number 2 of the Net Effect, Career Connections and Conversations. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for this inspiring biblical-based webinar series. I'm your host, Robin Jones, Director of the ABF Career Alliance. And we have 3 special guests here today. We thought it'd be really fun to hear from current students and see what they're facing and how they're meeting these new challenges. So I am really excited about our program. This is going to be packed full of inspiration and ideas to help you and inspire you to take action. Our biblical precedent is from Christ Jesus. When you do what you do, be sure you cast your nets on the right side. So before we get started, I've got a few housekeeping items. If you're not able to see me, you may need to download Zoom and run it. Otherwise, you won't be able to participate in our Q&A session. So let's run a quick test of Q&A. And if you would, please say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm from Nevada City, California. And let's test our Q&A and make sure that it's up and running. I'll be monitoring the Q&A as we move through our session today, and hoping to answer those questions as they come in. And as we move through it, we'll also have a Q&A that we wrap up towards the end of the program, so we can try to capture things as they come through. Also, during the webinar, our chat feature has been disabled. Oh, look, here they come through. Jane, Kristen, hey, Lane, hey, how are you? Hi, Jan. Nice to see you all flowing in. Great. Sheila, good, thank you. So it looks like our Q&A is working really well. And I will also launch a poll towards the end of our session to get your feedback on some specific things. How was the webinar? What'd you like about it? That kind of a thing. So, so let's get rolling. We got a lot to do today and a lot to talk about. So I want to introduce briefly our students. We have Brandon Cox, who's a student at Sacramento State University here in Sacramento, majoring in finance. Welcome, Brandon. We have Mairi Jo, a student at Sierra Community College in Sacramento, California, majoring in interior architecture design. And Mandys K. Johnson, a student at Principia College, Elsa, Illinois, majoring in business and marketing. And welcome to you all.
Hello.
So, yeah, the first question, we have 3 questions today that we want to answer. What important issues have you been addressing? I know that, the things have dramatically changed in the last few months, and for many, it's kind of been turned upside down. So I thought maybe we'd start with you, Mairi Jo, and tell us a little bit about what the future looks like and what you've been thinking about, what important issues you've been discussing, talking about.
I am in the middle of transferring colleges. I currently attend a community college near Sacramento, and I am transferring to a four-year university. So between the colleges currently and all schools currently shifting to an all-online system and having to make a choice for whether or not they'll be open in the fall, and having that weigh into my decision. As well as the fact that I was working two jobs, and now I took a break for an entire month, and I'm now trying to jump back into the workforce, and so my income has shifted, and how that will change my decision, if it will, or how it plays into what decisions I'm making for right now, as well as for my future in 5-6 months whenever I have to move out or potentially move out and switch colleges.
Well, I appreciate that. And Brandon, how about you?
Yeah, so some of the things, I'm a first semester senior, so going into the fall, be graduating hopefully, and with the coronavirus stuff going on, it's definitely a different landscape for finding places to interview and, getting your foot in the door to get a job after graduation. And so that's definitely something I've been trying to figure out. Luckily, right now we're lucky to have things like LinkedIn where we can sort of network online. That definitely helps a lot. But yeah, just a lot of uncertainty, especially because I'm a finance major. So the financial world is a little bit in turmoil right now. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens going forward. And hopefully, like Mary said, all the stuff with schools going online, it's just been a interesting time to say the least.
How about you, Mandy?
So I go to Principia College, and I actually live right off campus. So I'm in a really weird spot where I can see the campus, but I can't go on campus. So something that I've really been kind of addressing and thinking through, my sister's actually also a college student at Prin with me. And we talk a lot about, we feel really disconnected, even though we're in our space that we should be in a normal semester. We're in the physical vicinity of our campus, but we can't be there. And so there's this really weird, there's the mix of the fear in the world from the pandemic, and everyone is really scared and really cautious, and it's caused a lot of disconnect in the world. But then there's also this really great piece of connections. It's a weird kind of paradox we're living in where we can see campus, but we can't go on campus, and we feel connected online, but we're not connected in person. So you feel really lost, I think, at times. And one of the quotes that I had shared that I really think has been really helpful, and I actually just sent it in a letter to a friend the other day, but it's one that's on the screen from 2 Timothy. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. I think that just so nicely talks about how we can think about, even though everything is up in the air, we've got this really strong grounding that comes from God. I'm really grateful for that.
I love that. I love that quote. And I think that many people are probably feeling the way that you all do. Did you expect this? Do you feel like you've been prepared for this? Do you feel like that you can pivot, or is it just completely turned everything in a way where you just go, I'm not quite sure what to do with this?
I know for me, Robin, it is definitely taken a weird turn. I have an internship right now, and I'm working from home, and so it's definitely been a weird shifting of finding focus and making sure I'm getting the things done that I need to be getting done. Definitely with school for sure. I think the day before they told us we're not allowed back on campus, all of my teachers had said, yep, we're definitely going to be here. No worries. Don't worry about it. You're going to be here. And then the president sent out an email the next day and said, no one's allowed on campus. Everything is going online. So it was definitely a hard turn from what most people were saying. And it's definitely been a little bit of a struggle for sure.
How about you all that are out there listening and watching? Would you agree with our panelists? Is there anything anyone would like to add to that? On top of that, just jot a quick note in the Q&A. We'd love to see that. Love to hear from that. Yeah, there's just a whole lot of things that are there, and it kind of leads right into our next question, Brandon. That is, what are you doing to stay motivated? How do you deal with these challenges that you're facing?
Well, I know for me, I was homeschooled all the way up through high school, so that has definitely been something that I look at and say, wow, that gave me a lot of self-motivation and a lot of time management skills that I feel that, quote unquote, normal school or the public school system doesn't really give a lot of kids. They tend to keep you on a pretty rigorous schedule. And when you're homeschooled, you really don't have any set deadlines or timelines or anything like that. So that has been tremendously helpful for me in terms of making sure I get things done. And also, like I said, with working from home, it is still nice to have a job where I have to get up and be ready to work at 7 a.m. and it just kind of keeps everything regular and not too far out of the realm of what I was doing previously, but still just that little bit different.
I love what Kristen had to say here. She said, I would say you should count yourselves as putting this in the bank. Uncertainty, upheaval, focus, motivation, these will pop up all the time in your careers, and you are getting a PhD in them way early. And then Jan said, try to trust God's disposal of events and listen for what to do today. Those are great thoughts and great ideas. How about you, Mandy? Are you finding it hard to stay motivated? I mean, what are the things that you're facing to kind of move through your day?
Yeah, so when I first moved home, I set up an entire desk area. I live in the basement of my house with my sister, so we kind of have our own little mini apartment. And I found within the first week that the place I'd set up my desk was not going to be working because I needed natural light. And I was in kind of a corner in the basement. And it was really depressing when I first got here, and it really soured the mood in terms of this whole work from home, spend time with family. I was kind of like, I just can't do this. This isn't college. But I think I found things that are really helpful in terms of very practical steps to feel a sense of normal every day. So, every morning when I get up, I open my windows, I turn on my little twinkle lights in my room, I light a candle. And there's such basic things that you wouldn't really think that they would make that big of a difference in how you're feeling and able to attack each day. But I think for me, that has made so much of a difference. I have a dog and a cat that are living with me downstairs in my room. So I, get, have that kind of routine with feeding and taking care of the pets. So that really helps. And then I've also found that sometimes I just have to literally remove myself from my room, which is where my workspace is. And I come upstairs and we'll talk with my mom for a little bit. And it's almost like walking between, it's not as much, but it's like walking between buildings in the school or in classrooms or going to see a friend. So I think I'm finding these things that it's not going to be normal forever, but it's the sense of normal right now, because there isn't a sense of normal. And it's really been helpful to find those kind of daily routine things. Sometimes it's just doing my makeup or something that I would do instead of just staying in sweats, putting on real jeans like that. These little things make such a difference in being able to stay motivated in what I'm doing.
That's terrific. How about you, Mairi Jo?
I think at first it was a really big shift because I've always been a really busy person. So even this semester, I'm taking all my classes online to allow myself the chance to work a lot so that I can save up for the big transition I have coming next fall. And then having not only all of my income cut off, but my entire day packed of events that I am just gone all day, or I'm doing lots of things and I'm walking around and I'm going to the gym, and all of that is just shut down. And I think that was a big shift for me. And the first couple of weeks I was kind of not really sure what to spend the day doing besides checking my email and whatnot. But I found ways. I am an art statistically inclined major, and I really enjoy art. So while it's not, I already innately have like a hard time being self-motivated to do art sometimes. I found that finding a different location of where I was spending all day to do art, whether it was outside or a different table, and to be creative and just let some different juices flow, was really helpful and uplifting in ways, because I was just able to do something different and be quote unquote busy in a different way while still being at home.
So you're all kind of in a different place. I mean, Mary, you mentioned you've got some big changes coming up next fall. What is in front of you for next fall? What kind of changes are you talking about?
Well, I'm moving out. I'm switching colleges. I'll be in a completely different town. So I'll be either in Chicago or San Diego, big city, just completely different environment than what I'm in right now. I'll be going to school in classes, hopefully regularly, as well as, securing a job while I'm there so I can still have income and living in a completely different situation. So.
How about you, Mandy Kay?
It's a funny question. My future for the next kind of 6 to 7 months is a little bit in flux. There's a high possibility that I'll actually be staying on for an extra semester at Prin to continue my education and finish out a concentration for a major and a minor. I'm only a few classes away from those, but I'm still waiting to hear back from that. So other than that, I'm supposed to be working at a Christian Science summer camp this summer. So we're, doing lots of prayerful work in preparation, hoping that will happen. But just trying to be flexible and really just listening to wherever I am supposed to be for the next 6 months. And then after that, hopefully back to the Pacific Northwest. So I'm kind of setting down roots for another couple months without really knowing where those roots are going to take me.
How about you, Brandon?
Well, like I said, I'm going to hopefully be graduating in the fall. And so once I get through that semester, who knows? It's going to be about finding a job. So financial centers, all over the country. I'm looking at LA, San Diego, San Francisco, Chicago, New York. So it's going to be quite a big change because I've grown up in small town California. I think the town I currently live in has like 3,000 people. So
I didn't know they had those in California, Brandon. Small towns.
Yep, they're all over the place. But so that'll be a big difference for me, definitely going forward.
Has your job kind of search changed at all? Is anything different about it?
Yeah, well, so in finance, I want to go into investment banking, and the normal track for that is to get a summer internship, and then they will recruit you out of that summer internship if they like you. And most of those internships have either been significantly cut, gone completely online, or been canceled altogether. So definitely going to be interesting going into the fall to see how those jobs get filled. But I'm pretty hopeful. I have a okay resume and do well in school, so I'm hoping that'll carry me through this trying time.
I woke up in the middle of the night last night, and I was searching the scriptures, and I found some different passages that talked about God being mind. And then my eyes landed on a specific line, one little bitty sentence in Science and Health that says divine logic and revelation coincide. And I thought that was really interesting as it relates to, what do we do now? How do I do this? And how does this go along? And all the different things that are facing folks, which leads me kind of into the next question, which is, do you recommend having conversations with many different people? So, and each one of you answered this question with these specific things. Definitely, of course, absolutely. So, Mary, why would you say that? Why would you answer, of course, to this question?
I think simply put, because no matter what type of relationship you're building with somebody, professional, personal, just for the next 2 months kind of relationship, whatever, though, you have no idea how you can bless those people and how they can bless you at any other certain time in your life. And by reaching to build relationships or just have an informational interview or whatever it is with a professional who may be considered outside of your lane, you have no idea what the blessings that could be brought from that. They could have connections that could help you. They could have an idea that they were like, well, I thought about doing something like that, but then I considered this, or I know somebody who did this, or the list goes on. And the possibilities of that relationship that you reached out to, it's not just what you're getting from these professionals of trying to learn from them, but you could know somebody or have an idea that could bless what their situation is as well.
I think that's great. And Mandy K, you definitely said, absolutely. What are your thoughts about why that's important?
So I study business administration. I focus in marketing, but business administration as a whole. And one thing that I really learned through my major is how important it is to understand a comprehensive picture of the business world. And that, especially if you're going to work in a field like marketing, you have to know what you're marketing. You have to know what's going on everywhere else. And so I found that the more conversations I have friends that are engineers, I have friends that are studio art majors, I have, professional contacts that are, not necessarily a field where I'm particularly interested in, but I've just learned from people. But I think at the core of it, everyone knows something. And I think that's exactly what Mary was saying, is that it's everyone knows someone and everyone knows something about something, and you can always learn. And when you go into that with a really open mind and being really willing to just learn whatever it is someone has to tell you, sometimes they're really obvious and they say, I want to teach you about this thing. Or sometimes they say, what are you interested in? Who are you? Who are you as a person? And you find these contacts that you don't really realize are going to be at all someone that helps you in your professional life, or vice versa. Sometimes it's someone you meet in professional world who's actually becomes a lifelong friend, or, it benefits you past just your workspace. And I think when you go into that with the mindset of I just value this other person for who they are, not for what job they could get me or what I can learn from them as a college student or whatever it is. When you just value people, you really come out with a really vast knowledge of just how things are going in the world. It is so beneficial when you get into, your specific niche, because now you have this background knowledge. It's just such a vast thing you can pull on.
I love that. Kristen says, earlier this week, I ran across in miscellany one of those brilliantly embedded instructions from Mary Baker Eddy: attempt nothing without God. I love that. That's so very, very applicable. Attempt nothing without God. I kind of want to circle back to something you alluded to earlier, Brandon, which was an internship that you are currently serving in. Take us back a little bit to how you landed that internship.
Yeah, so I was taking courses at Sac State, and one of my professors in my decision science class had mentioned that they were looking for interns, and I had kind of put my name in the ring. As the semester went on and on, I sort of had to continue to push and push and push my professor to actually give me an interview. And so eventually I got to interview and got the position. So that was definitely a really big blessing for me.
So a professor, have any of you also had good relations with professors who have, maybe it's led to particular connections or career connections or a job? Anybody want to jump into that? Mairi Jo?
Sure. I don't know that I can assuredly say that I've had connections. I've built relationships with professors who have, connected me with a job, but kind of funny enough, my physics professor I took about a year and a half ago, I developed a pretty good relationship with her, and I had decided that I didn't like her class, not because of her, but it wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. And I was going to drop it, and I was letting her know, and and I was going to go into like an interior architecture major rather than civil engineering, which is what I was doing at the time. And she connected me with a woman that she's worked with in the past that does interior architecture and general contracting. And I loved that pairing, and I just dove right in, and I really explored what that could potentially mean, and how that could work for me if that's something that I wanted. And it just opened this whole other door of possibilities of the balance between, you know, science and structure, and, you know, kind of like logic behind the industry that I am really interested in, as well as creativity and art, which was a balance I was really looking for but wasn't finding in civil engineering. And to be able to shift my focus with a little bit more of a sense of ease was from a woman whose class I was about to drop, was just, you know, really nice to make that transition and feel better about it.
How about you, Mandy? Any kind of interesting career connections that you've made in the last couple of years that kind of led to a job or opportunities that you wouldn't have made or found if you hadn't reached out and said, gosh, I'd really like to talk to you about, you know, whatever it is they're doing, right?
Yeah, I actually had a connection through Albert Baker Fund, which you and I have talked about a lot, but I have a connection who happened to be someone who I had run into from a different aspect of Albert Baker Fund, and then requested a career connection, not knowing that these two people were the same person. And we got on the phone, and I was kind of like, oh my goodness, we've already met, and had that really funny moment. But this person has actually been such an incredible business mentor for me at the time that we first started connecting. I didn't actually really know that I was super interested in marketing, and along that, I kind of just knew I was somewhere in the realm of business. And she and I have actually had such a great, we talk at least, you know, once every 6 months, if not sooner than that. And I actually was able to do some work for her company. She pulled me on to do a project earlier this semester, or maybe it was last semester, sometime this last year. And through her was able to meet one of the people who works for her, who I really connected with. And so it's just been, all I was doing was just asking about, what do you do? And like this kind of scared early college, not really sure what I'm doing with my life moment. And it was such an incredible connection. She has been such an incredible mentor, and someone who, I think it was the first time I'd really felt like someone outside of my educational experience was invested in me as a both an employee and as a person from a professional standpoint. And that it was really eye-opening how much somebody wants and can share with you when they really feel like there's a great relationship building there. And so I've just been really grateful for that. And it absolutely is, I would not have had that without the Albert Baker Fund Career Alliance. So it was just a very awesome experience, and a connection that I will have for a very long time, and I'm very grateful for.
Oh, that's super. And anybody that's on listening, if you've got some ideas or suggestions or questions, be sure and put them in the Q&A. Hannah wrote in a question and sent a question in through email, and she asked this question: how do I approach a contact that could potentially help me give me a job opportunity or an internship opportunity? Who'd like to tackle that one?
I don't mind talking about this. I know for me, the most important thing that I've found is to ask. You just have to go and talk to someone. Like I said, with my internship, you know, my teacher had mentioned it in class, and I sent him an email about it. I talked to him in class. I probably sent him 3 more emails about it over the whole course of the semester. And so it's definitely just about making a commitment to talking to people. Don't be worried about the people who say no, or the people who just blow you off completely, because that will absolutely happen. It's happened to me many times. Just definitely put yourself out there and just give it a shot. I don't think there's any wrong way, you know, just be courteous. But overall, any question you can ask someone, or anything you can ask of someone, if they can't do it, they'll say no, and that's okay. You just have to keep moving.
I love that. Mary, anything you'd like to add to that? Mandy?
I would say I totally agree with Brandon. I think a different example for me is that I had a job opportunity with Cedars Camp, a Christian Science camp in Missouri, and they wanted me out there. And for me, it wasn't necessarily the direction I was initially looking for, because I wanted to be able to get an internship with an architect or an interior designer to be able to develop that skill set for myself. And I expressed that concern with them. I was like, I would love to be out there and work with you guys, and but this is my concern, and this is the direction I'd really like to work towards, and this is something I really want to build for myself. And they said, okay, we have an architect we can connect you with, and you can do an internship while you're out here. And they just within this conversation of expressing my concerns with them and sharing with them where my interest is and what I want to build, being open and genuine with people. I think, that the term authenticity gets thrown around, especially kind of with our generation a lot. But being genuine and authentic with people, just being open and being, well, this is where I'm at right now, and this is what I think that I need. And if you can get that for me, if you can help me in some way, I would be so appreciative. And just being open and honest and genuine are so helpful in those types of conversations.
Mandy K, anything you'd like to add?
So one thing that I've always really struggled with when it comes to this is remembering that it's okay to ask. I think that this is something, Robin and I had a conversation the other day, and I was sharing that I am so quick to offer up any connection in my life that I can possibly connect someone with, be it, one of either my stepdad or my dad or my mom or my stepmom, whoever it is. I'm like, let me get you on the phone with them. But I think sometimes I forget that it's absolutely okay to be the person on the other end of that equation, and just to say, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think sometimes it's, you got to start from a point of, start where you're comfortable. It's not necessarily you immediately go to like the most possible, like head of a company. I mean, it's okay to start with asking your friends and have the conversations until you're comfortable. And I think just getting yourself in those conversations, have those, make the connections, start at a friend level. If you want to talk to some people, from your college or from high school, or, their parents do things. Everyone's got a job or has had a job or knows someone who's had a job. There's connections everywhere. And it's okay to ask for them. And so I absolutely agree with what Mary and Brandon have said. It's all about just that willingness to kind of get outside of your own bubble for a second and say, okay, like, where do I go from here? And the connections will come. You just got to be willing to take advantage of it.
Well, Hannah had one other question, and I think each one of you, I'd like you to take a stab at this. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, when do I know an opportunity given to me is right for me? It's a good question.
That's a great question. For me, I can honestly say I've never known the answer. There's never been a moment where I've been 100% sure about anything that's been given to me. I've done many different things, and I think the great thing about life in general is that you can try something, and if you don't like it, you can not do it anymore. No one's forcing you to stay and do whatever it is you've been asked to do, obviously within reason, but for the most part, I would say just try. You're probably not going to regret attempting it. Even if it ends up not working out, you probably won't go and look back on that moment and go, wow, I really wish I would have done something else instead of that. You definitely get more opportunities. So it's not an issue to start something and then go, that's not right for me, and move on.
I love it. How about you, Mandy K?
Some advice that I was given the other day, I was on the phone with a connection I know from church back in Oregon. And one of the first things she said in her email, and then again when we were on the phone, and again when we followed up, she was like, pray. And you kind of expect that. It's kind of, your church friends are going to go, like, you should pray about that. and especially being at print, it's a very commonly heard thing. But the way she said it, it wasn't a, oh yeah, you should pray, it's kind of this thing you should do. It was, no, genuinely ask God. And something that I've always thought about when it comes to how do I know if it's the right thing, like when I was trying to make this decision about, do I stay at college for another semester? And, that sounds a little crazy. I was so close to graduating, and I mean, had everything I needed to finish this semester and be done and move on. And it reminds me of when my mom and my sister and I first moved to LA when I was young. My mom worked for Berkeley Hall for a while, and nothing really should have worked out humanly. LA is a very expensive place to be. My mom was a single mom, it just on a human level, it didn't really make sense to get up and move for a job in a state that none of our family was in, except, we had my aunt was there. It didn't make sense, but everything fell into place. There was never, it was never a moment where we couldn't do it, and everything happened. And I think that that's what I always think about. If an opportunity is right, what your need is going to be there. Maybe it's the finances, maybe it's the location of where you're going to live. I mean, whatever that looks like. And sometimes it's not even just the basic, living and food and things like that. It's the people that you're going to be around, the community. Everything will fall into place. And I think when you start to feel that, when these opportunities arise, you just kind of know. We have listen to your gut, because typically it knows. But I think, when it's right and it's really an opportunity that's been prayed about, like, it falls into place if it's the right thing.
How about you, Mary? Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I definitely agree with both y'all, and Brandon reminded me of a conversation that I had with a dear friend's dad the other day, and we were talking about decision making, and if what's the quote unquote right decision, and he was sharing with me that whenever he graduated from college, he had a job, and then he shifted jobs, and he worked at a place, and within like a week he knew that was not the place he wanted to be, and he put in his 2 weeks notice, and he worked there for literally 30 days and was given an incredible job opportunity within that time, and he still works there today. So even if you're like Brandon said, even if you're just trying something out and you're giving it an opportunity to be what it is you need it to be, or even if it goes completely a different direction than what you thought was going to happen, just having the willingness to put yourself out there and try that situation. It's okay if it's not what you wanted or you needed or you like it, whatever it is. There's going to be blessings that come from just trusting and trying.
I love it. That's really, really good stuff, guys. It's great feedback. One of the things that I wanted to bring forward, we're getting kind of past our time, and I need to kind of shut things down. And we all kind of talked about, well, we could probably talk about this for a long time. There's a lot of things we could all share. And we said, well, maybe we need to put it up into parts and different, cut it up. And so we've really tried to jam in a lot of information here. But I wanted to show a couple things, which is, we have a career connections and jobs board at the Career Alliance, and you can find, and that's at abfcareeralliance.org. We have tips and tools that are in there. We've all talked about how do you have conversations. Well, in our tools and tips section, there's an online career course called Life Launch, and we have 9 modules in there. And one of the modules is on interviewing, and you can log in. It's free to the Career Alliance community, and you can watch Don Asher. Don is a New York Times bestselling author. He's been a career expert for over 30 years. He travels all over the world. He works at all kinds of schools, including Mandys at Principia College, working with students. Mandy's been through his class. Well, we took his 4-day class and put it in these 9 modules, and one of them is interviewing, and it talks about informational interviewing in there. And in our tools and tips section, we have a PDF that you can actually download with specific questions to kind of give you a script. I want you to know also that there are 46 jobs currently posted at the Career Alliance, as well as 7 internships. So there are those postings plus hundreds of career connections that are in there, from finance to architecture to business marketing to art. I just posted one last night for a playwright. My gosh, the resume that this person has is incredible. So, and there are lots of jobs out there. You can see that this, I just pulled this down a couple days ago, and you can see that there are companies that are hiring. So there are opportunities. And I was listening to Mark Cuban, who's the Dallas owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and he was being interviewed, and he said, this is a great opportunity. And one of the questions that he asked, he said, what are you doing right now? And you guys probably would agree with what he was saying. What kind of things are you doing today to help prepare for tomorrow? He said that's one of the things hiring managers are going to ask after this is over and starts to open up. They're going to be curious as to wonder, what have you been doing? How have you been spending your time? So maybe I'll start with you, Mandy K. How are you spending some of your time as it relates to, have you pointed out a skill, or have you figured out, something you want to learn during this time?
I think something that I realized is that when it comes to, making business contacts or staying on top of jobs or classwork and things like that, that really hasn't ever been a major struggle for me. But what I haven't always been great at is connecting with people my own age. And kind of what I was saying earlier is that, which sounds so funny to say that out loud, it's not like I don't have any friends, but I think that sometimes, unless they're in my immediate friend group, people just fall off my radar a little bit because I'm so busy. I'm so caught up in all the things I'm doing. And something that what the state of the world right now has allowed me to do is to take a step back and connect with people. I've been able to talk with someone I know from middle school who didn't go to Prin, is not a Christian Scientist, someone I met, years ago and reconnected with, and we've been able to kind of be like each other's quarantine buddy and like have this friendship. And totally different industry. He's interested in crops. Like, it's completely different than what I have ever been interested in, but I've been learning so much. And that's just one great example of how much when you connect with people, you're learning all the time. And so for me, it's been these kind of almost like what would be like the peer-to-peer or student-to-student connection on the Career Alliance, but just, doing that within my own circle and starting to reconnect with people that it's not like they were ever, out of my life. They just fell off my radar. And so getting to expand my connections to those people again or reconnect has been really, really beneficial.
Brandon, Mairi Jo, anything you'd like to add? Any skills, particular things you're spending your time doing?
I think just kind of touched on it a little bit earlier of, I'm trying to stay active. So working out regularly or working through different techniques or different ideas with art. And I started exploring watercolor and I tried to be good about, I'm one of 7 children, so trying to reach out to all my siblings. I'm trying to help my parents minimalize a little bit, so that's always good, fun stuff.
How about you, Brandon?
Nothing really in the pipeline at the moment, just kind of finishing out classes. I'm thinking about taking a little financial modeling course over the summer, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. But I think right now I'm just sort of staying the course and hunkering down.
Gotcha. Well, one of the things that I asked for was some additional questions, but boy, we've kind of run past our time, and we've worked to kind of put the questions in kind of in the spacing. If there is or if there are any other questions, certainly put them in the Q&A, and we'll try to get to that. But I think I'd like to start wrapping things up, and the top takeaways that we've looked at here during this. There's so many, I don't even know if I can categorize all of them, but 3 that I thought were good was, what are some of your top takeaways from today? But we've been given the power of love. I love this. I think that's so important to have that as a part of what we're doing. The love and sound of mind. We need to overcome the world's thought of fear. Fear will just completely paralyze you. So we know that we have to find that sense of normal. We've had some good ideas about how to do that and have conversations regardless of who or what they're doing. People know people, and we have to remember that. So Mandy talked earlier, she made a quick little reference to our student connections. So on the Career Alliance website, I have on the, if you go to abfcareeralliance.org and you click either student section or the job seeker section, the career ally section, you'll see on the right-hand side our Twitter feed. And I actually posted the student connections so that if you wanted to reach out to either the students that are here today, you could click on that link and it'll take you right there. I want to thank Brandon and Mandy and Mairi Jo from the bottom of my heart. You guys were great. You had some great comments, some great ideas. Thank you to all the participants. I do want to launch our poll. If you all that are still with us will take just a couple minutes and give us your feedback. We really, really appreciate that. We're always looking to try to figure out how to make it better, improve upon our content, what kind of things should we be thinking about. I want to take a minute to thank the Albert Baker Fund, our incredible team. They're doing great work in all kinds of different things, and they're just a super, super great group of people. The Career Alliance, like I mentioned earlier, has created an online connections and jobs board where you can reach out, request one-to-one career connections, search for jobs and internships. If you're not registered, get registered. If you need help, reach out. You can reach me at robin@albertbakerfund.org. If you're a student, we've got a great student section in there that has a college to career roadmap with unbelievable resources and tools. We need more career allies. Tell your friends and family about what we're doing here. We're trying to reach into our community and find all those wonderful folks, like I mentioned earlier about the playwright. And why? Because it's important to help students like these lovely students we have with us here today. You can see they are incredible people doing incredible things, they're willing to share, they're willing to do all the things that we need to do. And I just saw that the first question is how you rate our overall net effect. It says Captain Alan Zwick, but we know we're talking about Mary, Mandy, and Brandon. Apologize for that error. I'd like you to stay connected with the Albert Baker Fund. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. I also posted the student connections on LinkedIn and Facebook. And again, let's thank the Master, Christ Jesus, for his reminder. When you do what you do, be sure you do it with the right thought and the right motive. So cast your net on the right side. I've got a great fishing story, but I have to save that for some time in the future. Thank you all. Thank you kindly. It's been a great pleasure. I appreciate the polling. So this is Robin Jones signing off. Have a wonderful day. Appreciate all of you being here. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Mairi Jo. See ya.